And hello, good afternoon, or whatever time of the day it is where you happen to be. Happy Easter, everybody. I was kind of umming and ahhing about whether or not to do a stream today because, it's Easter and I'm sure people have way better things to do than watch me do some coding. But at the same point, I thought, let's expand from Lego and let's actually try and do some coding and push myself just that little bit extra. And well, if I can do that with as few people watching as possible, it seems like a nice way to at least try and get started. We'll see how it goes on. In that vein, I'm not sure how long today's stream going to be. I think I am kind of expected to spend some time with the family, obviously. So I think there's going to be an amount of family Lego building going on once I'm finished up here. But I still wanted to do something. So we'll see. Maybe we'll be busy for an hour or so trying to get something set up. And what I'm going to be doing today is getting the start to my menu builder that I was talking about last week up and running. Now, today we're not going to be getting anything spectacular live, but we are going to be making our solution. We're going to be pushing it to GitHub, creating a static web application inside of Azure, cleaning up all of the crud that you get when you scaffold a Blazor application, because we're not going to want that. We're going to be doing our own thing. And finally, we're just going to be finding a nice picture on Unsplash that, who knows, maybe we can get something that looks reasonable to kind of just put as a placeholder until we make some headway in this project. Fingers crossed. Let's see what happens here. Hello there, Jessica. Thank you so much for joining me here today. It's nice when you got a friend on board. I know that I can make a fool of myself with Jessica and not feel too bad about it later on. Too bad. Right. Time for a sip of tea. And then let's get on with it, shall we? Now. Yay, look at that. It's actually working for me. And so I think this is about the first time I've done this, and the remote Elgato has worked straight out of the box after I've done all the pre-checks to make sure that things are running. Now, the first thing we need to do today is actually get our repository up and running, somewhere to store the application that we're going to be building. Now, I went on a very small buying spree yesterday because I suddenly decided if I'm going to build this menu thing, I want a URL to put it on. So I was doing some searching to see what is available out there right now. And the one that I really, really wanted, because I thought it sounded quite cool, was Make My Menu or My Menu Maker, which is cool because we're talking about food. And if you look at the initials for that, then you end up with Sounds quite cool for making a menu. Unfortunately, it's taken. To my surprise, the one that wasn't taken is What's for Dinner? So that's what I've decided to call the website, whatsfordinner.com. We're going to put a quick description in here. Let's have a look. What can we put for a nice description? A menu maker. And you're about to see why on my talks I do a lot of code snippets, because I'm not going to be having that many snippets here. You're going to see all of the mistakes I make when I'm typing. Fingers crossed it's not too bad. And thank you, Jessica. I hope that it's a name that sticks. It's just looking at this, I thought it was quite cool. It's a shame I couldn't get but what's for dinner? It answers the question. It's what the website's going to be. What's for dinner? Well, try this. So a menu maker for those who can't decide what to eat. Smiley face, because I like smiley faces. Right, I'm going to keep it private for now. I'm going to be building it with you online. I'm pretty much only going to be doing this on the stream itself. but I'm going to keep it private for now. We'll see whether or not I open it up in the future. Let's add a README file that we'll fill in later. We want a git ignore, and we want the git ignore for Visual Studio, because that's what I'm going to be working in. And we'll give it a license. Now, I must admit, I need to read up a little bit more about these licenses. It's not my main area of expertise, but the few things that I have read, everybody recommends the MIT license, so that's just the one that I'm going to be going for here. So let's create this repository for us. And then let's grab some code, shall we? We'll copy that to the clipboard so we can clone it. Open up our Windows terminal. And yes, that is indeed the inside of the 13th Doctor's TARDIS. I love the new Microsoft Terminal, by the way. It's you can set it up just so nicely. So I want it in my GitHub directory, and let's do git clone. And we're just going to shove it in what's for dinner, because that kind of works. Okay, so now we have the repository locally. We can switch to our Visual Studio, and we can actually start to make it. So we're going to make a new project. And because we're going to be doing a static web app, I'm going to build it in hopefully a reasonable enough way. I'm going to do it the same way I do it in all of my talks. We're going to create a Blazor WebAssembly application, and that's going to be called Client. And we're going to create an Azure function project, and that's going to be called API, just because that's what the static web apps look for out of the box. So it just means it's one less step to take when making it. So we want our static web app. This is going to be client. The solution name, it's going to be in code. GitHub, says she hopefully. And the solution name is going to be what's for dinner. Now, if I've done everything correct, this should create it in the right place for me. We're going to be using .NET 5 because why not? I'm going to leave authentication blank right now. Obviously, we are going to need authentication for this. But you know what? Authentication, it's not something I've done that much work with. So it's something I'm going to have to look at later on. I'm going to do a little bit of research offline so that when it comes to the stream, I can try and build it up, do some research while I'm with you on the stream, but I want to kind of have an idea in my head of where we're going to be going first. And if anybody has any suggestions for a nice way to set up Blazor WebAssembly authentication and authorization and how to link it into an Azure function, I am all ears. We are going to configure it for HTTPS. We are not going to do an ASP.NET application. And for now, I'm not going to do a progressive web application either, because that's something else which is on my radar of something I need to look into, but it's just on my radar and I don't want to get sidetracked just yet. I'm assuming we can always add that later, and if not, well, we'll just recreate this and copy the code back into the assembly. So let's create this, get it all scaffolded up for us. Drum roll, please. Can my little machine handle streaming and doing actual work at the same time? I think at some point, I'm going to have to start moving my streaming to an actual streaming machine, because there is a huge difference. If I'm actually just coding, then this page is gone within like half a second. And if I'm streaming, it takes about the amount of time that you've just seen there. And we're still not there yet, because it's still not showing the scaffolded solution. This is always the best fun when you're actually giving a talk and you go through this step and you've got people watching with bated breath and you're sitting there going, no, honestly, something's going to happen. Come on, little computer, you can do it. I say, come on, little computer, you can do it. It's supposed to be an i7 with 6 cores, and it still struggles when you do all of this. That warning, by the way, is just because ReSharper takes an age to start up on my machine. Okay, so we now have our client. Now, before I go further, did I create this in the correct place? If I did, I'm going to be able to go to Git changes and see something. If I didn't, we're going to have a look at where I actually put this on a disk and see about moving it to the right place. And it looks like I didn't. Damn. Hey, looks like I did. Phew. It just took some time before it got there. Don't necessarily have the happiest machine right now, but I'm sure that we'll get there later. So now that we have our client, the next thing that we need to add is our solution. So let's add our API. So let's add another new project. And this new project is going to be an Azure function. We're going to call this API. And then we're going to wait. We want a HTTP trigger. And yeah, we'll leave that by default or as default. And then we'll wait just a little bit longer. Now I'm adding the API already just so that it gets built and it gets taken into my deploy pipeline. But I'm not actually going to do anything with it today aside from set up the solution so that we can debug it locally as well. So for that one, come on, you can do this, little machine. Wow. Let's try giving it a build, see what happens. Do I need to talk nicely to the machine? You can do it, little machine. I know it's Easter. You wanted a day off, but you can do this. Drum roll, please. Build succeeded. That is what I wanted to see. Now we are going to add the bits that we need to do just to make sure that I can debug this locally as well. The first one that I want to do is make sure that I'm running both of these projects at startup. So let's just go ahead and set these here. So we want to start both of them. Oakley dokley. Now I need to add a local settings JSON, and I must admit here, I'm going to cheat just a little bit because I know my typing is going to go wrong at this point. So let's add our app settings into our www root. Honestly, I did click. Wow, this is, I'm going to have to do something about this. I guess this really is too slow to try and do this on the fly, all from one machine. Which is a shame because it's time that I don't have to get that set up. Now, let's add a JSON file, and we're going to call that app settings development JSON. And all we're going to do here is just add one setting into this file when it eventually appears. And that's going to be our API prefix. And the reason why we need this, for those that want to have a go at static web apps, the reason why we need this one set up in this way is because when you run a static web app, you get your client-side static app and you get your Azure functions, and they all run together. There's some proxying going on behind the scenes, and the API and the client are all on the same URL. When we're running locally like this, that's not the case. It's our API runs on one port number, our client runs on a different port number, and we have to get them to communicate with each other. But of course, they should only communicate with each other when they're running locally. So we've added this app settings.json, and we've given an app setting of API prefix. Let's copy that one. And if we go to our program.cs, we can now make a change to line 20. And this line 20 is where we set up our scoped HTTP client for the application. And what we're going to do here is just add a, where is it? It is builder.configuration. Thank you. API prefix. And we're going to say we want that. And if that's null, then we want to take the host environment. And for some reason, it doesn't like that. Why do you not like that? Oh, I know why it doesn't like that, because I've used curly braces. And of course, it's not a curly brace, is it? It's a square brace. Durr. See, code snippets for the win when you're giving a talk. You don't be doing this under stress when giving a talk at the same time. Now, the other thing that we need to do, of course, is turn on cause for our function. So that's the second thing that I'm going to do right now. And for that, I need to add a launch settings JSON file to my API. So let's add that one. Add a new item. And that item, if I don't get distracted by my third screen, is also going to be JSON. And this one I am going to paste because this is a whole JSON object that I need to do. That's just going to be, when I run this locally, I want to give this the right name. I want to run with cause enabled for just everything, just so that I can run it locally. But this one needs to be a completely different name to that. I don't know why I got that wrong. Oopsie. So launch settings.json. You see, this is the reason why I decided to do this on Easter Sunday. I thought it would be a nice quiet day and I can make all these mistakes and get all nervous with as few people watching as possible. So this now should be everything we want it to do. Now, just to check that this is working as I expected, I just want to change one thing here, just to make sure that my cause is working. This should now break. This should now break because this weather JSON doesn't actually exist inside of our API. So if this goes boom, I can actually be happy, which I like it. We're going to test to make sure it goes wrong. At least we've got the storage emulator starting. We're getting there. My computer's making noises. Drum roll, do something. Start up on the wrong screen. Give me a debug window. Right, so there's our Hello World app. Now, if I go to fetch data, I want it to go boom at this point. Yay, look at that. It goes wrong, and it goes wrong because we're trying to access our local host. Woo! It died. We did the right thing. So let's stop this from running because the machine's busy enough as it is. And the thing that we're going to do next is just a load of cleanup. Because there's so much CRUD here that we're not going to need. And I don't want it in my repo at all. So the first thing I'm going to do is just delete this function because we won't be using it. We'll be adding a new one when it comes to adding our first function. Then we need to get rid of a load of stuff. So we can get rid of this sample data. We can get rid of the counter and the fetch data razor pages. Then we can have a look at our shared page. In the main layout razor, there's a lot of stuff that we don't need here. So we're going to keep this as is for now. We're going to be changing it before we finish for the day. But we're going to be keeping this as is for now. But we can get rid of this about. That gives us a reasonably clean layout. And then if we're going to the index major, let's get rid of... You know what, for now, we're going to be getting rid of it in a minute. What's for dinner? Let's check that this runs locally. And if it does, then we'll do a push and we'll set up our Blazor application inside of Azure. I feel very English right now. I see lots of streamers and they're all drinking energy drinks or water out of really awesome looking bottles, and I'm drinking tea. Although it's tea out of a mug. My mother would not be impressed with me. All right, I already see straight away that I forgot to do something. I need to remove these two navigation links, but the rest of it looks fairly okay. So let's get rid of those for a second, and that's in our nav menu. Let's get rid of all that. And you know what? I think we're about there. I think for an absolute base application with as little stuff inside it as possible, I really think that we are about there. So let's push this all up into GitHub then. Add cleaned base application. Commit all and push. And then we wait, and the computer does something. There we go. Oh, that's just created locally. There is a push. Nope, that's not the screen I was looking for. Where's the screen I was looking for? There's the screen I was looking for. Is this available right now? No. Why hasn't that push worked? That's really interesting. Let's have a look what we've got on the disk. No, it's not push luck. Do we have an error inside of here? Okay. Is it trying to push? Is it just being really, really slow here? Oh my word, that was slow. Wow. There we go. And that's pushed. So now we should be able to go back to our GitHub repository. There we have it. Woohoo! Right, next up, we need to create the static web app. So let's get the Azure portal window up here. Sorry, I'm still waiting for the computer here. I'm definitely going to need to get a different machine for streaming and building. I'm definitely going to have to learn how to get a different machine for streaming and building. Resource groups. Here we go. Come on. So let's add a new resource group. And since I'm in the Netherlands, we'll throw this one into West Europe. So there's our resource group. Let's go in there and let's make our one and only resource, for now at least. I think in the future, we're either going to be adding a table storage account here, an Azure storage account, or we're going to be adding a Cosmos DB account. I haven't quite decided yet how I want to do this. So that's something that we're going to be bringing across in the future. Right now, though, what we want is a static web app, which still in preview. Don't know when it's going to go to GA, but oh, they're so much fun to use. You can do so much with these things so quickly. They're a lot of fun. We need to give it a name. What's for dinner app? Let's give it another region. What's that region that we want to do? We want to do West Europe. Oh, that's cool. This is something new. The last time I came through here, we only had GitHub available to deploy from. Now we can deploy from other places too, which is really cool, but it means that you have to do everything by hand. And well, let's stick to the GitHub option, shall we? Let's sign in. I'm going to give that other one a try because I do like the idea of seeing how to deploy a static web app from at least Azure DevOps. It's the other one that I use mainly. But for now, we'll stick to doing it just via GitHub. Why have you lost my password for GitHub? There we go. My organization. It's not an organization, it's just me. What's for dinner? And we want to deploy the main. Oh yeah, deploy presets. That'd be useful, wouldn't it? So we want to deploy Blazor. We'll have our client, our API, and our www root. For those who don't know, this output location, as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, that can be anywhere you like. It doesn't actually have to be www root, but it does have to be somewhere that doesn't exist inside of your repo. If it does exist inside your repo, it tries to create it, and then things go boom. Our client and our API, this is why I created my client as client and my API as API. It just makes things easy for us. Let's create that and get that building. Now, these things, because this isn't happening on my machine, they generally succeed really quickly. Like I say, I really do love these static web apps. You can play about with them quite nicely. The web app is up and running. And if we come into what's for dinner and have a look at our actions, it's deploying. Yay! All right, one last thing to do, and then we're going to take a quick detour. And that is, I want to do a pull. And I want to do a pull because when you create your static web app, it creates a workflow folder for you. So if you don't do a pull yet, the next time you try and push, it's going to give you an error. Of course, it's also going to take an age to pull. Apparently, having 15,000 Firefox windows open is a little bit of a problem. Yeah. It's fine, says she hopefully. Drink more tea, then things are going to go. Things are going really weird now. My StreamYard's just gone blink at me. I don't know if my machine is going to finish this session, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. Holy wow. This is really not what I was expecting it to do. I'm so sorry about this. Let's have a look. What is the machine busy with? Well, it's quite busy. Wow. This could have something to do with it. A CPU which is that busy is not a good thing to see. Oh well, let's see what happens. We've done a pull at least, so now we can get back on with what we were doing in the browser. Now, today, the only thing that I really want to do is get an image up just as a placeholder for the application. Since as we're what, half an hour in, and I don't know how long I'm going to be spending here today, that seems like a reasonable task to do. And for that, I want to go to Splash, and I want to get a nice royalty-free image. Let's see what we can find under food, shall we? These all look quite tasty. I want to try and find something that gives an idea of an evening meal or something. These are all really quite cool, but I'm not sure it's quite what I want just yet. And Fun Abhakan, I hope I've pronounced your name properly. If not, I do apologize. Use a capture card. What's happening on the build machine is a scene for OBS. Yeah, that's what I'm going to be trying to do. It just means that I need to buy a second capture card, because the capture card that I have at the moment is for my main camera sitting in front of me, and it's not something that I want to get rid of just yet. But I might do a test stream later on in the week building Lego without the main camera and see whether or not I can at least get that one working, and then see what to do. Also means, of course, I need to figure out how to get my second machine usable from a distance, because at the moment it's kind of headless. It has no monitor, it has no keyboard, it just sits there backing up my software for me. But we'll get there. It's life's about learning. And thank you for the tip. Oh, I got your name right. Awesome. Thank you so much. So, what type of food do people like? What's a nice thing for an evening meal? Pasta. Pasta's always good. Got some greenery, some mushrooms. I think that's a reasonable image to throw on the screen. Of course, I'm going to have to figure out some CSS, because just having this with nothing behind it might be a little bit odd. But, well, let's get the image first. So let's download this. I do want to copy the thanks. I'd like to attribute it to the right person. So let's whack that into here. And we're gonna, this is just a nice way of saying thank you when you're stealing something from Unsplash. Just a nice link to what it is, to so that people can find it. So in theory, we have something downloaded. So let's get that in the right directory. So, so let's, come on. Sorry, I'm just doing like mega weird double, triple clicking here. Stick that in code. GitHub. What's for dinner? I can't believe nobody had what's for dinner registered. Makes me wonder what's wrong with it. And then we want a images folder and paste that there. So if I come back into my solution now, I have images, and here's that image that we just took. Why am I trying to do stuff inside of Visual Studio? I know it's not going to work for me. Ta-da! Okay. Come on, little machine, you can do this. Keep going just for a little bit longer. Look at this backdrop. And now we want to put this backdrop just on the page. And I'm going to do this actually inside of, how am I going to put this on the page? I'm going to put it into my index. But since I don't want anything else on the page right now, I'm also going to just comment out some code here. Why are you not commenting out? Because I didn't do the right comment out thing, of course. So I'm commenting this out. I am an absolute advocate of not putting commented out code into stuff, but you know what? I'm going to turn this nav menu back on at some point soon. So I don't want to completely delete it all yet. I'm just going to disable it for now, and we'll come back later. The index, on the other hand, this page, what can we do here? See, I don't know whether or not just to give this like a whole image thing that just goes to images backdrop and just give it a direct style of width equals 100%. And of course, it doesn't equal 100% because that's not CSS, is it? See, I don't know about something like this. Visual Studio trying to be too intelligent. Because if we do it this way, then apparently I've got a broken extension, which is interesting because I think the only one I've got running is ReSharper, which apparently is also not a good thing to do when you are streaming. And let's fix this because, again, Visual Studio trying to be just a little bit too intelligent. Okay, the fact that I'm doing a short stream today is possibly a good thing because, wow, this is really not working. If I just edited something I didn't want to edit. Dum, 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 dum. Come on. TikTok, little machine. Ah, it's a different site, isn't it? Okay, that's what I wanted to see. And that's okay. I've not done anything that I didn't expect to do then. Right, so let's run this. Let's run this. You can do something. Well, I'm definitely going to put some text over that because that's wrong. Looks cool. I'm actually not unhappy with it, but it needs text. This is a point where my CSS skills are going to let me down completely. So what can we do here? Well, let's close as many of these as we can. Close all tabs. Get rid of that error message. Go back to our Solution Explorer. Let's add a CSS class here. New item. And we want to search for CSS. And we're going to call this CSS index.razor.css. And then it creates it actually underneath our index page, which is kind of what I was hoping for. So let's make ourselves a class, and we're going to call it placeholder, because let's face it, that's what we have. And we want our background image to be a URL, and that has to be /images backdrop.jpg, and we want our width to be 100, and I've done something wrong. Does this have to be a string? That has to be a string. Right. Does this give us the same thing then? If we come back into our index razor page and we make a div with a class of placeholder. I do love that in Blazor. It actually gives you IntelliSense for class names. I think that's quite cool. Of course, now we have to wait for it to start up again. Oh, look at that. That failed quite miserably, didn't it? Did I mention my CSS skills are non-existent? I'm going to cheat in a second. I'm going to copy it from somewhere else. Can we give it a H1, a what's for dinner, and then let's give it a P, and inside of that P we want that text that we copied from Unsplash. Is that what we needed? Was it just too empty? No, because that's just completely broken. Wow. Ah. Because of this. Oh, come on. Okay, how do we escape an @ sign? Yeah, whatever. Really? Come on. Okay, I'm going to look at that when I'm not online. So for now, I am going to get rid of this text. I'm so sorry to the Eaters Collective. That's the first time I've had that one hit me. And if we're going to figure out the CSS any more than this, then I'll probably do this one outside of the stream as well, and learn some CSS along the way. Oh, look at that. Well, we have a slither at least. That's kind of a start, isn't it? Right, rather than starting this up and stopping it every time, I'm going to run this as from here. So cd client, and then we want .net watch run. So let's just run this one, because it means that I don't have to keep on going stop, start, stop, start, stop, start all the time. Not really. Not really what? Okay, I'm gonna guess that you are doing weird stuff, and I think you might be about to get blocked because I have no idea what you're saying here. Come on, where's the blocky button? There's the blocky button. Okay then, right, well we have some kind of a picture. That's kind of almost started. What's going on here? Okay. So what do we need to do to the CSS to do this? Can we give it a height? Is it a 100 HV? Nope. Device height? Is that going to work for us? Loading. Nope, that doesn't work for us at all. This is really annoying. I've had this working before in the past. I really hate CSS. Anybody know how to make a background div just the entire height of a screen? I know it's 100 something, but I'm not sure it's 100 what. CSS make height of screen. No, I don't want to get the height. CSS make div height of screen. Yes, this is exactly what I want. I want to make a div 100%. VH. That is what I was looking for. VH. It's something that I have used in the past. But you know, I've slept since then. Reloading. You know what? I'm going to say that's good enough. It is not perfect, but it's good enough. What I'm going to do, though, is make that text white so it really stands out. I'm not going to bother centering it or anything else. All I want to do is just make the text stand out a little bit. Yay! Image! Absolutely! Yes, I just like to say at this point, I do most of my stuff kind of like backendish or inside of TypeScript. I let other people at work take care of the CSS. So this is a little bit of a journey into the unknown for me. Okay, well, I am going to make some change there. Wow, that is the height, but that's coming over at full resolution, and I don't want it to come over at full resolution. So I just want to make a small change here. Let's say that we want our right, and we want dot placeholder h1, and we want that to be padding 20 pixels. If we get that, I just want to try and get that a little bit away from the edge when it reloads. When it reloads. Come on, you can reload. Yay, look at that. That looks slightly better, doesn't it? What do you think? Shall we make the text a little bit bigger while we're at it? So font size, let's make it 4EM. Drum roll, please. Is this going to be huge now? No. You know what? I think that's acceptable. It's not the contrast that I want. I'm so sorry, Jessica. But for a placeholder for a couple of weeks, I think I can cope with this one. Now I just want to make sure that the image gets stretched correctly. And for that, I am going to cheat. You see, I have my own website here too. And I've done something like this for my own website. So I'm just going to copy the CSS from my own website because it saves me having to work it all out again. Where's my image? Image. Why do I suddenly feel like I'm completely lost? Let me pull this onto this screen so you can see what I'm doing. Ah! I think this is the one that I need. Let's see what happens if we put these on, shall we? The page reloads, and I'm hoping this is just going to make... Yeah, look at that. Of course, now the text doesn't work at all, does it? Oh, lovely. Oh, come on, Stacey, you can do this. Right. Let's add something here to make this better, shall we? So let's give this a background color. And we're going to give this an RGB, and I want it to be black. And let's give it an opacity of 1/2. Why are you complaining? Why is that an unexpected value? Is that not RGB? Come on, I've been playing with this for days recently. Ah, RGB. Hey. Nope, that's not the screen I was looking for. I've lost my screen. I've seen worse. I've seen better. I've seen worse. So just one thing, seeing as I've got padding around this, and to be honest, I don't particularly want to get rid of the padding too much. So I want to try and maybe make this 95% of the height of the screen. Just to try and get rid of the scroll bar down the edge that we have absolutely no use for. Loading. Yeah. You know what? I am happy with this. I can live with this until we get some better stuff inside of here. And Funjess, you can read it, and that's great. Thank you. If you say that, I am more than happy with this. And I think with the white space around it, I'm going to do another push and get this one up to our website. And that's not bad. We're about an hour into the stream, which is about what I kind of had planned for today, because I'm a little bit, like I say, it's Easter. I need to go downstairs and spend some time with my family too. Add placeholder image. Let's commit all and push. Now, the only other thing that I really wanted to get done today is to actually get the URL in place. Unfortunately, that URL is takes some time to get sorted. So that one I'm going to do during the week. I might walk through a little bit about it now. Come on. Is that still pushing? This is incredibly slow. I really don't get it. I think once I've finished with the stream, I might spend 5 minutes just having a look at what's going on while still having StreamYard open and see if I can spot what the problem is, because this is beyond poor. I've done coding in my talks using StreamYard, and I've not had this issue. I mean, this is just ridiculous that it's still initiating the push. Obviously, something strange is going on in the background. But yes, my performance is, my CPU is still running at like 78%. It's kind of ridiculous. Right, that's at least pushed. So we now have, cool, our new push going up. We have our website, which should give us, I hope, what's for dinner. It's good, that's going to disappear soon, and we're just going to get our image. Now, the other thing I'm going to do in a second is these custom domains. But like I say, I am going to do this offline because this takes about 2 days before things come to fruition. I did go on a little bit of a buying spree yesterday. I got myself what'sfordinner.com. So that's parked and ready to go. So I'm going to do this during the week. I will send out a tweet when that is available to be used. And then, well, next week I think I'm going to be back to Lego. But since as I now have both Lego and coding on the go, I might have to see whether or not I start to stream more than just once a week. I'm going to have a look at what other things I have on my calendar. On that note, I think we've kind of reached a nice place to call it a day. We've been at this for an hour. We are about to have something live. It's, this kind of takes about 3 minutes to go. It's been running for a minute and a half. So I want to thank you for your time today. If anybody has any ideas about some things that they think would be really cool for something like whatsfordinner.com. Please drop something into my DMs on Twitter, and let's see what we can do to get it set up. I've done this purely for me. I struggle every week to try and figure out what we need to put on our menu so that we can put our online order in for food. And it means that we're always eating exactly the same stuff week after week after week. And I don't want to. I want to try and get some variation into our diet. But at the same point, I know that I'm not going to be able to do that without some help. And I'm a software developer, so I should be able to help myself. So the idea behind this is that I can get recipes. I can put my own recipes in there as recipes. And if I find recipes online, I can put a link to those recipes with a little bit of metadata, like how easy is it? How long does it take? How obscure are the ingredients? So that I can just say to the website, give me a random menu for the next week, so that I can use that in my shopping list. So that's kind of what I want to do here. And if you can think of anything to put on that you think would be a really nice addition to that, please let me know. And well, I'm going to try and figure out a little bit of a roadmap, get some issues set up, some milestones set up to try and keep me focused. And let's build this out together. Now, the build's finished. We're loading. We have What's for Dinner. It's live. I am going to share this link on Twitter today, just because why not? And then, over the course of the week, as soon as I can get the URL working, I'm going to put that one onto Twitter as well. On that note, I'm going to call it a day. So I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon, and I promise to try and get my streaming deck set up just a little bit better so that we don't have quite as long just waiting for the machine to do something odd for us. On that note, enjoy your Easter weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.